Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode Rest Pass. Are we at 16?
16.
Yeah, 16 of Apron Work Podcast with a fine group of sleaze and gentlemen. Switching it up. We're getting away from... Switching it up. It's Rest Pass, Peach, and Walton on Apron Work Podcast. Rest Pass, how you doing today, bud? That intro throw you off a little bit?
I'm upset. I was waiting for the Chill Boys.
Chill Boys. Okay, thank you. How you doing today?
I'm fantastic.
It's great to hear. Peach, how you doing today? What'd you think of the little intro change up?
I was confused.
Yeah, well, we like to keep throwing curveballs, and that actually, I think that statement of you just saying confused with nothing else kind of
encapsulates this whole podcast.
Exactly, your contributions to the podcast. So thank you for that. Alrighty, so a couple of things we're going to be talking about this week. First, we will start off with something that happened last week while we were recording live, and that is the Money in the Bank pay-per-view happened. So, we mentioned it on one of the other ones. We're now keeping a running tally of all of the pay-per-view predictions. We're doing our own little predictions. I think, Mike, you posted it on the Apron Work Facebook group, right? Like our predictions for this one for both NXT and Money in the Bank?
Yeah, I did Facebook, I'm pretty sure Instagram, Twitter, all the fun places.
Yep, so we'll go over the card real fast. We'll comment if anything was, any matches were really exciting, and then we'll see who stands where in these rankings. So, I don't have the exact card lineup. I just have all the matches written down. So I just know this match was the pre-show match, Bludgeon Brothers versus Gallows Anderson. Bludgeon Brothers won, and all three of us picked them. The match was all right, like nothing fancy. The first match of the night on the main card was Daniel Bryan versus Big Cass. Daniel Bryan won. Me and Peachy picked that one, and Rest Pass picked Big Cass, who, before we got on today, was arguing that all of Big Cass's matches should now be wiped from the records because it was one of the ones he got wrong this week.
I picked Big Cass to win both weeks, both pay-per-views, and now it's coming out that was punishment before they fired him. So I feel like this should get wiped clean because these are two of my very minimal wrong answers on these two pay-per-views. That's not fair.
Fair enough. I disagree with that completely, but third match I have down here was Styles versus Nakamura for the WWE title. PG and I had both picked Nakamura. Rest Pass picked Styles, so he picked that one right back up. This was their best match of their batch so far. And just from the looks of it, it looks like this feud is done with for now. I'm disappointed Nakamura didn't get the title. Because at this point, I don't know when he's going to get it.
Yeah, I thought WrestleMania was the time to do it with a face Nakamura. I think they still can do that, possibly at I know they try to make SummerSlam as a WrestleMania Junior or on the level of it. That's something that they've been trying to do for the past however many years. So
yeah, 7 or 8 years, I think.
Yeah, so I could see it maybe possibly him turning face over the next couple of years if he doesn't retire first.
Yeah. Next match I have written down, and this one was a little confusing because of how it ended. It was Nia Jax versus Ronda Rousey for the Raw Women's title. In the middle of this match, Alexa Bliss, who earlier in the night won the Women's Money in the Bank briefcase, cashed in and caused a disqualification and then beat Nia Jax for the title. Watching the match, she technically hit Ronda Rousey first. So, for our purposes, I gave Rousey the win. So that means Rest Pass and I were both incorrect, saying that we picked Nia Jax, and Peachy picked Ronda Rousey to win. So, technicality, you get the win there, Peach. Congratulations.
W is a W.
W is a W. This match was also awesome. Rousey, I'm all in on. She has it. She can pull it off. I kind of like, so right after this, they suspended her for 30 days. I think it's just to not oversaturate her on the TV. I think it's great. I think they're actually. It seems like they're actually doing the Ronda Rousey thing right. I'm curious though because I think she's going to end up winning the title at SummerSlam.
Yeah, probably. The best thing about it is like you're saying, they're doing it right. Her in the ring, they're not showing too much. You almost get this feeling that she knows how to do more, and they're just giving you just enough to keep you coming back and wanting to see that next match. Like, hey, is she developing more? I think she's way more developed than what she's showing.
She did a crossbody off the top rope that looked really good, and I was just like, I was blown away. I was very impressed by it. Nia Jax looked awesome in this match too. Overall, like, just kind of surprised. It sucks that it's surprising, but like, this was a great match. Next match I have down here: Carmella versus Asuka. Carmella won with the help of our boy James Ellsworth. So happy. Pass and I both picked Carmella to win, and Peachy picked Asuka. There was no disqualification or anything, so Carmella somewhat picked up a clean victory over Asuka. I liked how they used Ellsworth to help Carmella win. My only issue was the end of the match. Carmella kicked Asuka in the face and pinned her 1, 2, 3. That is so goddamn stupid. There is no way in any universe that should happen.
She kicked her in the face while she was distracted, Walt.
It doesn't matter. She does not matter.
She was not expecting the kick to come.
I don't.
Knocked her out. All right?
I don't.
You want me to walk over there and punch you in the face when you're not paying attention? I'm more likely to knock you out that way than I am if you're expecting it.
First off, let's be real. If you punch me in the face, you're not knocking me out, all right? All right, so let's get that straight first, all right? All right. Maybe that'll be our next bet.
We do need a bet for the end of this full year prediction thing.
We gotta find a video.
Oh, what, of you knocking me out?
Yes.
that was a good one. Yeah, that was a good one. For those playing the home game years and years ago, this may have been like 8th grade or 9th grade or something like that. Me and Peachy and a bunch of us were boxing in his room, and I go to punch him. My arm stays there. His arm just goes right up my face and just knocks me out, like in his bedroom. It was hilarious. I passed out.
You fell in the opposite direction, if I remember right. It was one of those, like,
you
got punched to the left and you fell to the right.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Next match I have on here is Roman Reigns versus Jinder. LOL, Reigns wins. I didn't watch this. I didn't care. We were recording when this one was on. My only thing was I paused our recording to hear the Chicago crowd just boo the shit out of them. We talked about it last week. Chicago did a wave during it. It deserves it. I hate it. Like, I get why people get upset at wrestling fans when they kind of try to take over the show. And to me, this is not saying nothing bad about, Roman's performances or Jinder's performance. It's just that the story writing, the writing that they're doing for Reigns and even with Jinder is dumb. And I think that's more what this is a shot of than their actual abilities.
Well, that's like you talking about taking over a show. I'm assuming you've seen what Bubba Ray posted on Twitter. I don't know. I think
that's where I saw it.
Well, yeah,
but that's where that general idea.
Yeah, he basically, and Peach, I seen you kind of shaking your head. He basically posted on Twitter saying that, if he was still wrestling and the fans tried to take over a show, he'd come out in the crowd and beat the fans' asses. Essentially, is what he said. And then people kind of, they kind of agreed with him. Paul Heyman said, "Yeah, I remember going to court for a time you did that." The biggest issue with me is why is it such a big deal that the fans aren't doing it to be cool? I disagree when it's thought of that the fans are doing it to be cool. They're doing it because they don't like it. They like the other stuff. They're there because they want the other stuff, but they don't like that part of it. It's okay for them to not like that part of it. Why do they have to be okay with having certain things forced down their throats?
I like this, and I think we just possibly found a conversation for a topic in an upcoming episode. So, hold off going deep diving into that. I want to do. I think it's a good idea just to talk about what our feelings on crowds like taking over shows and stuff like that.
Okay.
I think that we could go definitely a while for that.
Yeah.
Next match I have one here: Lashley versus Zayn. Bobby Lashley won. Peach and Respace and I both picked Lashley. Peachy picked Zayn. I didn't really watch it. I really didn't care. The only thing that kind of sucks about this one, and I think this is why Zayn is now out until next year with like 2 torn rotator cuffs. So that kind of sucks. But I really didn't even watch the match. Seth Rollins versus Elias for the IC title. All 3 of us picked Rollins to win, and he retained. Probably Elias' best match, maybe in WWE, since he's been called up to the main roster. Wasn't that great, but just Elias as a character, I think, is the tops. Alrighty, so the men's Money in the Bank briefcase match. Peachy picked Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens did not win. Respass, you picked Samoa Joe. He did not win. Matt Walton selected Braun Strowman, and he was your winner. What can I say? I got it. I know what I'm talking about. I was looking at this is I got 2 of the 3 recent multi-person ladder matches correct. I selected Adam Cole for NXT TakeOver, and then I even selected Strowman here. So I'm doing something right.
You're brilliant, Walt. You're brilliant.
I know. The Money in the Bank was, as usual, a clusterfuck, but it was a great match. It was fun to watch. Really enjoyable.
I will say this. We didn't make this prediction, but when I was on We Podcast and We Know Things, listen to them, WePodcastAndWeKnowThings.com. When I was on that bonus episode with them, we actually predicted who the New Day member would be. And, like fools, the 3 other people who talked around me picked Big E, and I picked Kofi Kingston. They said, oh, you know what, Big E, he was already named as it. And I said, I'm telling you, Kofi Kingston, they want him for the flippy shit. And what happened? Kingston was in it for the flippy shit.
Yep. There was nobody else. Like, if it was Strowman, or not Strowman, if it was Big E, I could have thought maybe Big E would actually win it, but that wasn't happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, now I'm excited to see when Strowman's going to cash in. Since Lesnar's never there, he has like 1 shot of actually cashing in on him. Now the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. All 3 of us got this wrong because Mike's official prediction changed from Alexa Bliss to Sasha Banks.
I am on an episode saying Alexa Bliss, and then you know what it was? Again, I blame this on We Podcast and We Know Things because I was drunk and I switched my prediction there. And I figured, you know what? I better keep my prediction from this show matched up because I just said I'm switching it, and they forced wine down my throat. That was the problem.
That's why I was drinking cider there. Overall, Women Money in the Bank, I thought it was great. I thought it was I think we were watching it live when we were recording. I love it. We're now getting to the point to where I think a lot of these like gimmick matches that were only men, and then the women are jumping in, are now just natural women's matches. Like, it's just natural evolution, and this is ultimately what I wanted to get to, like, with how they were doing this whole women's revolution thing. Yeah, this match, it was a standard ladder match with the girls, and I think they knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so probably now for the best matches of the weekend, TakeOver. You had the Undisputed Era versus Danny Burch and Oni Lorcan for the tag titles, and the Undisputed Era won. All 3 of us got that right. I still have yet to watch this match, but Respass, you said somebody else I was talking to last night also said the same thing about this match. So
great match.
The next match, which was my probably favorite match so far, Ricochet versus Velveteen Dream. PG and I both picked Velveteen Dream. Ricochet, Respass, you picked Ricochet. This match was great. I think they make Ricochet look like a I said this last week. Ricochet looks like a fucking star.
He will push those ratings for 205 Live when he's out of NXT.
I hope he does not go to 205 Live. I think they move Lilo Rush to 205 Live, keep Ricochet on the main roster. May have him weigh 206 pounds. I think he's a much bigger star than 205 Live. Unless they change 205 Live to where those characters interact with other stuff outside of 205 Live.
But that's my thought. I'm thinking they're going to put him in there. It was almost like, remember 205 Live was a little bit bigger with Enzo as champion?
It was.
And he would show up on Raw, and it was basically Enzo's show. But that's what I think Ricochet is going to be. He's going to be there with the title, wrestling against the U.S. champ or the Intercontinental champion. You know what I mean? I could see him being the face of 205 Live, saying like, you know what, we're at your guys' level. And I feel like that's where his at least when he first comes up to the main roster, where he's going to be.
Have they ever did that, Walt? Made somebody 206 pounds, as a joke promotion?
They did something somewhat recently with Buddy Murphy. I forget what it was, but he he has to do for storyline purpose a mandatory weigh-in every week because he's right at that cusp of 205. And he got disqualified from a match or something because he was 206 pounds or something like that. But next match was Shayna Baszler versus Nikki Cross. I didn't watch this. Shayna Baszler won. Shayna, whatever. Shayna Baszler won. I don't know who she's going to fight now, really, from the women's side. I don't know if it's going to be Dakota Kai or if they're going to start a feud with Kairi Sane. Especially because I think they did announce the Mae Young Classic is coming up after SummerSlam. So I think it's after SummerSlam, so that I don't know if they'll do the winner of the Mae Young Classic taking on Nikki Cross, but didn't watch, or Shayna Baszler. Shayna, sorry, Mike. NXT Championship Match, Aleister Black versus Lars Sullivan. Black won. Oh, so for Shayna Baszler, we all picked her. We all got that right. Aleister Black, we all picked him. He won. He got that right. I watched parts of this match, and it was really good. I like the beast that Lars Sullivan is. To me, he's got a very Braun Strowman appeal to him, and I think when he gets called up, those are going to be some fun matches to watch. Those are going to be kind of repeats of Braun Strowman Big Show, except to where both wrestlers are very athletic, and you're going to get some fun spots in it. Nothing against Big Show. Big Show's just 40, 45 years old.
I was going to say you're getting the guys in the prime of their career, not one at the tail end.
Yep. Last match of the night was Ciampa versus Gargano. Used to pick Ciampa. I picked Gargano, and Ciampa won. I thought this match was better than their first. I enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed it better than their first. I liked the opening with Candice LeRae just going up to Gargano, and it was so forced, but I still generally liked it. Her handing him a crutch and being like, kick his ass. Great. The chemistry between these two, the rubber match between them, I think is going to be hopefully the end of this story for now. And it just does a good sign off. I think Gargano's going to hopefully win the rubber match. And set him up, or whoever I think loses the rubber match is getting called up to Raw or SmackDown.
I agree. I was just about to say, I feel like Ciampa's going to lose and he's going to get moved up, and over time you'll eventually see that feud start up again on the main roster.
Yep. So, with all of that being said, I forgot to do my math before we put this together. With the total amount of predictions so far, right now, I have correctly guessed, where are we at? 27 matches. Oh, actually, I apologize, because we are not counting WrestleMania in this, right?
No, we're not.
We are not. So I have correctly predicted 17 matches. Respass, you are tied with me at correctly predicting 17.
Told you that 1 point lead was not enough. Well,
and Peachy, you have correctly guessed 12.
Hey.
Not bad. So we'll be running this.
Didn't he had like 3 after the first one, right? So
after WrestleMania?
No,
or
after Backlash.
Backlash, yeah, he only picked 3.
Yeah. So I you know what? 9, right? Because I had 11, you had 10, he had 9. So
yeah,
he
did
well this time.
Yeah, 9. Well, it was a 4 for 5 in NXT was what really helped.
You dug yourself a big hole. That was the problem.
Yep. So yeah, we'll figure out a better wager or something to keep this going until.
Anybody listening has any ideas? I mean, we still have 10 more months of this, so
yeah. So we'll talk about, I guess, what was going to be like the main topic this week. We did that just so we didn't forget about it because we forgot about it, I think, the last time to go over the predictions.
Yes.
But kind of sad news in the wrestling world earlier this week. Vader passed away. No.
Sad news?
Oh, man. Vader. Yeah, Vader passed away. Leon White. Probably most known for being Frankie Stecchino's father in Boy Meets World.
No, that is what he's famous for.
It is. But yeah, passed away, and so Mike Respass kind of threw out the topic idea of notable wrestlers that are not in the Hall of Fame yet.
Yes.
Right? Was that the idea?
Yeah, guys that haven't been inducted yet. It was purely because when he died, the story kind of broke that Vader, actually, when he found out he was having heart problems, which I don't know how long ago that was he found it out, but he was kind of pushing WWE to kind of put him in the Hall of Fame. Because as much as a lot of people might not consider WWE Hall of Fame to be Pro Wrestling's Hall of Fame, it is. I've realized it's not the best of the best. I've realized a lot of it's a popularity contest. A lot of it is certain guys won't get in because they need to have a tag team every year. They need to have a main guy every year. And certain people just don't want to be in it. But you could say that thing about actual sport Hall of Fames. I mean, it kind of goes around with other professional sports where, there's more than just the NBA out there. But,
yep, definitely.
But the main focus is if somebody's an NBA champion, that means a hell of a lot more than somebody winning an Italian League champion. So it kind of has that same feel to it, and he kind of wanted to be in it because he knew his time was almost near, and it sucks that he wasn't able to be in it when he was alive. More than likely, if they have any type of, well, it'll be good for WWE, so why wouldn't they do it? But I'm assuming he'll be in this next Hall of Fame class.
I don't know, that's because, and here's my only reason why, is you have China probably going in soon. You have Vader going in soon. You're going to have two people that
Does China get in?
See, we can discuss this in the episode, but purely, I expect him to be in soon. And if WWE does anything right and if Vince does anything right, he will strike while the iron's hot. I wouldn't doubt that they name he's going to be in the Hall of Fame like next week. They do it. Wait, I know. I'm kidding, but what I'm saying is, I wouldn't doubt that if they leak it out there hey, the plan is he's going to be in it.
Not trying to obviously two different things, but Roy Holiday's going into the Phillies Wall of Fame this year. Would he have been in there if he didn't die in that plane accident? Probably not. This year,
well, not this year.
Not this year. At some point, yep, but not this year. And tragedy, I think they announced it the same week or something like that, that Holiday's going into the Wall of Fame for the Phillies. But kind of very similar. Strike while the iron's hot, the name is out there.
Is there criteria for the Hall of Fame?
For WWE?
Yeah.
It's the same criteria we use to have you on the show.
Yeah.
So
okay.
none.
So very low standards.
Well, it's one of those things because they've purchased, WCW, ECW, all that stuff. It's essentially who they feel should be in it. It's like every year, if you go back and you look at each and every year, you'll notice there's always one woman. Mostly, usually, there's always one woman. There's usually one tag team at least. There's always a celebrity. They have the celebrity wing. There's always a headliner. There's always one or two guys that might not have been WWE champion, but they were like mid-card type guys. You always have one guy that is really old that, might not have necessarily even wrestled in WWE. They kind of keep that formula. So, like, you're never going to see, obviously we'll get into the guys who aren't in it, but you're never going to see Stone Cold and Shawn Michaels get inducted in the same year. Like, that was never going to happen. They'd rather those guys wait because they need the headliner. So, they kind of follow a formula, but really not. There's no criteria, I would say.
No, the Godfather's in the fucking Hall of Fame. All right? Yeah. Like, that's what... And especially when you're looking at the list of names of people that are absent from the Hall of Fame, that's disgusting. Like, I get it. Godfather had a great character. He was there. Papa Shango, Godfather, Good Father. But Hall of Fame worthy. And then it bothers me because of the... like, you do have... So, Peach, we're bringing up China. Like, is she going to go in? I think she will. She definitely will at some point, and it's just going to be disgusting how she gets inducted, because I have a feeling it's going to be probably like Triple H or something that inducts her. They had their past relationship, or even I could see Stephanie McMahon, and like just to be that women's revolution thing, or like China really started the women's revolution. China's a fucking Intercontinental Champion. She has a specific feud with Jericho and Jeff Jarrett that I distinctly remember. They had a good keeping match or something like that for the IC title, and she was the first woman in the in the Rumble. She's on my list of snubs. But I also have a question for your topic, Mike, about this. Before I go down that path, when you mention people that are not in the Hall of Fame, are you talking about them being snubbed by WWE? So like I'll go like a Bruno Sammartino. Bruno Sammartino and WWE had their falling out, so he could never get inducted because he would never accept the induction.
Right.
Are you talking about things like that, or are you talking about more like The Rock?
I don't think he means snubs. He just people that aren't in it that should be.
Yeah, I think... I mean,
but like the Rock,
you can come up with reasons either side. I think.
Okay.
I think there are multiple reasons why multiple guys aren't in it, and I didn't want to kind of paint ourselves in a box here where we're only discussing, people that have feuds with WWE, and that's why they're not in it, or whatever. But you brought up a good point about China. Not to get off your question a little bit, but
no, that's fine.
Will they put China and Vader in? I'm looking down this list. There's about eight people that are dead. If five of these people got put on one year, they wouldn't have the actual people there, talking. So now you're like, that's how a guy like the Godfather gets in there, because guess what? He can be there and talk for himself. People know who he is, and I think that's how people like that get in there. Because what kind of show is that if you have 7 relatives of people, thanking everybody for the award?
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, it's still entertainment. It's not, it's not a lifetime achievement award. It's who they want to put in there. And like I said, they at least have a somewhat formula where if you have 2 different people that aren't alive, that one person's probably wrestled when it was black and white.
Yep. So I'll go. So China is definitely one of mine that I feel should be in the Hall of Fame, and the fact that, and this is what sucks. Like, I get it why they didn't want her because of all the porn stuff she did. But then again,
the way she passed.
Yeah, you're gonna get that with wrestling, though. But this was even before she died. Like, this was before she died. It was the whole porn stuff.
Yeah, she became too hot to actually associate with.
But then how do you have someone like the Godfather get in that actively owns strip clubs? It's the same thing. And obviously not the exact same thing, but it's close enough to where this guy's character was basically a pimp. He's actually a pimp in real life. He's like the terrible version of Paul Bearer. What? Russ Fans is laughing because Paul Bearer was an actual funeral director. But so the big names on my list of people that this, and these would legitimize it. British Bulldog and Owen Hart. These are probably at the top of a lot of wrestling fans' list that should be in there.
But Owens, what you call it? It's because of his wife?
Martha, for whatever reason, does not want to allow WWE to induct Owens' name in the Hall of Fame, just because I think she still holds resentment against the WWE because they essentially killed her husband.
Right.
But then even the British Bulldog too, that's another one that again, both these guys are dead, but those legitimize the Hall of Fame, I think, in my mind. Bruno Sammartino was the main one you had to get first to kind of legitimize it. And then these, I think, are two of the ones that follow up right behind it as legitimizing it.
Yeah.
But, so, Russ Pass. Actually, before we go to yours, Russ Pass, Peach.
Yeah.
Who do you have? Yeah, that's what I'm curious to see how... Because
I was going to ask, the criteria, because, you still have part-timers like The Rock and everything.
There is no criteria whatsoever. I wish there was. Because,
be retired for 5 years or something.
Exactly, because then, you had the issue with, and this is where I agree and disagree with it. Shawn Michaels. He went into the Hall of Fame the year after he retired. That's well-deserved. Definitely should be in there. But then you had guys like Edge, who went in, a year or so after he had to retire.
But it's because he was relevant, and they wanted to put him in there while they felt he was relevant.
Edge was definitely Hall of Fame worthy. Great career, long career. It's just it just bothered me that it was this is way too soon.
He was the headliner, right? If I remember right.
Yeah,
and that's the reason for it. That's purely the reason for it. And it's no knock on Edge, but if Edge waited 5 years to be in it, he's probably not the headliner.
Agreed.
And the only way that they could make him be the headliner is by putting him in right away.
Yep, agreed. Which one was he? Headline. Yeah, and and this is where Edge was the headliner, but he also got inducted in with the Four Horsemen.
Yeah.
And to me, the Four Horsemen, that's your headliner.
Yeah, but they need that solo headliner.
Yeah.
And that's why he didn't have to be as strong, because they had the Four Horsemen.
Yeah, and the Four Horsemen, it wasn't a WWE thing. That was more of a... That's, when you see the Four Horsemen go in, that's where WWE, I think, gets stuff right, because they're more associated with WCW and NWA. So I don't even think the Four Horsemen were ever in WWE, were they? I know
if they ever did it, it was probably just a temporary thing where they just made reference to it.
But that's where it's all right, it's a real wrestling-centric Hall of Fame. But then it's the 1 year was Kevin Nash was the whole headliner, and you had Randy. It was the same year Randy Savage got inducted.
Yeah.
And how does Kevin Nash get the headliner over Randy Savage? That's stupid.
Yeah.
But to Peach, go back to your point, criteria or whatever. It's nothing. It's whoever they feel like it. They sometimes try to do stuff that makes sense. So when they were doing the Hall of Fame in New York at WrestleMania 29, they did Madison Square Garden. Bruno Sammartino's your headliner because of how often he headlined it. That kind of made sense. I wish they would have waited to do something with Goldberg in Atlanta, not in New Orleans, just because that would have been a nice touch because WCW was headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia. Things like that, but there's no headline or no criteria whatsoever.
Right. All right, so Vader passing, Bam Bam. That's who I always connected, and Bam Bigelow, he's not in WWE Hall of Fame. Was that a snub thing from him being, too hot to touch? With drugs and all that. Like, that's how he passed at 45 from drug overdose.
I really don't know. I don't know enough about Bam Bam's full career. He obviously the big thing. He had the match with Lawrence Taylor. I forget which WrestleMania it was.
11.
But Bam Bam. I really don't know his full career enough to say. Yeah, he's definitely worthy.
But I think he is. He's a middle of the pack kind of guy. But again, you can't put too many people that died in there, and
it looks like
he's going to fall by the wayside for that reason.
I was looking over the previous Hall of Fame inductees. It looks like at most they do about one person that died.
Yeah. That's what I said. I think if I can remember, there may have been 1 year that there was two, and one of them was an old wrestler, because they've been trying to do that recently too, where they get a guy that anybody who watches wrestling now never even heard of, and throw him in there because of his accomplishments. Well,
they started. They did the Legacy Award for like the really old wrestlers. Like Lou Thesz is one of the Legacy Award winners. And that's just, I think, to like a cop out, so they don't have to waste time for. Yeah, it's a sad way to say it, but waste time on a Lou Thesz induction since nobody knows who he is really.
Yeah.
Most people today know him just because Austin does the Lou Thesz press. Hey, listen, I'm one of those guys too, but I'll sit down and watch a Hall of Fame induction ceremony and listen to somebody talk about Lou Thesz, because those were always the best. I love listening to those old stories. Anybody else other than Bam? Yeah, but to Mike's point, yeah, Bam Bam should be in the Hall of Fame. But my criteria is set as the Godfather's in the Hall of Fame, and that's the bar that is so low.
When do you think Vince will go in?
He'll probably whenever he finally retires, if he ever actually goes in. I don't. Well, his father got put in a few years ago. I forget when it was. But Vince. I think Shane will get inducted before Vince.
Really?
I agree.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think Vince is going to be one of those things where either if he finally retires, they'll put him in, or he'll be after he's dead kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't see.
I don't think he wants to self-promote himself,
which is a weird thing to say.
Yeah, it is weird, but yeah, I think in his mind he's already in it.
I think
I think it's going to take him passing away or having to retire because he's slobbering over himself for them to finally put him in.
He gets put in when Triple H takes over full control.
Yeah.
That first year, that's his first inductee is Vince McMahon, and that will be it will be at Madison Square Garden. That's where Vince McMahon will get inducted. No doubt about that. But I think it's probably when he's dead or when Triple H takes fully over the product.
Yeah.
But anybody else, Peach, from your side? What about some of the ECW guys?
Well, that's what I was just about to say. Paul Heyman.
Yeah, he'll go in.
But they're still going. RVD, is he officially retired?
I don't think so. I think he'll get. I think he's a possible one for if they do a WrestleMania in Philly.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, I see RVD getting inducted by Dreamer, or one way or the other. Dreamer getting actually, I could see Dreamer possibly going in this year, since they're in New York. I could see Dreamer going in New York, and then RVD if they ever come to Philadelphia for that one for the ECW.
What about Paulie?
Whatever it makes sense. Paul Heyman's one of those guys that they can induct him anytime. I would say 10 years.
I think he's a guy where if they don't have a headliner, he'll be in that group to beef it up a little bit. Yeah, I think he's going to be the Macho Man of the Four Horsemen of his Hall of Fame class when they don't
Where
have
he-
they don't
where he
have
should
somebody
have-
else. And
Where they
gotta
should, I was gonna say where they should be the headliner, but somehow,
yeah,
they're not.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like that's whenever, like you said, whenever they feel like it's right. There's going to be one year that they're just going to be like, we don't have anybody, and it's no knock on Jericho, but it's probably going to be like a year Jericho's the headliner,
Jericho's
and they
not
feel
gonna
like.
be...
But but I'm saying like it'll be a year where he's the headliner, but they'll also add Paul Heyman and somebody else because they feel like that the group needs to be beefed up a little bit.
Yeah, I don't see Jericho. Jericho, in my mind, should be a headliner, but he won't be.
He'll be a weak headliner. That's what he'll be. He'll be a Kevin Nash headliner. He'll be an Edge headliner.
Yeah. The other one that I had is, and I was going to bring it up, is money and Rest Pass. This is before we go over into your, because you posted this out on Twitter, Reddit, and stuff like that, and got a lot of response back.
Yes.
This is more of a personal thing, but will CM Punk ever go into the Hall of Fame?
Does he come back?
I say yes.
Really? You think he accepts an invitation for the Hall of Fame?
Yes. Yeah, I think time heals all wounds, and when he's bored, he'll be back in some fashion.
I think he's the one that's in like 10 or 15 years. I think he's going to be the one guy people are going to say Punk needs to be in because that will legitimize the Hall of Fame. I think he is the one name that will do that in like the 10, 15 year time span.
Yeah, when they run out of people, when they just put Triple H in there for the 7th time.
When Santino Marella gets inducted,
yeah.
which I see is coming, that is going to happen. That no doubt about it.
I did not have Punk on my list, and I have a very long list.
Yeah, well, I think it's because it's still too soon.
Yeah,
and
I
think
still expect him to come back in some fashion at some point. So,
yeah, but yeah, you want to go over what you kind of posted out there and some of the responses you got?
Well, I was going to ignore the responses for right now because there's a lot of them.
No,
and I know that's wonderful to hear. I put it on Reddit. I got 64 responses.
That's awesome. Like just as a first, I was like, oh man, this is great.
And I got 50 responses on Twitter.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, there's just a lot. I mean, you see a lot of the normal,
What are some of the normal ones other than like British Bulldog, Owen Hart?
Obviously Vader. Vader was that's what sparked this whole thing.
Yep.
I don't want to say the ones I wanted to get into, so I'll kind of jump around here. Obviously, The Rock. I seen him a lot.
I think The Rock is one of those just they need time.
Still a part-timer.
I don't think it's not that he's a part-timer. I think it's just that they're waiting for schedules to line up and just when they really need a big name. I think he might be the next one when they're in, if they ever do Miami WrestleMania again. I think he'll probably be the headliner for that because he gets to essentially dictate when he'll go in.
You see a lot of Chinas on here. Brian Pillman, who I had on my list, and I wasn't really going to get into him as much. He's one I see on here.
He was one I was actually thinking of. Like this, obviously the Austin feud. For whatever reason, Hangman Page reminds me a lot of Brian Pillman. I don't know. I think it's more so just the look than anything. But
I see Ivan Koloff.
Yes, that was a big name when I was doing some research as well.
Greg from We Podcast and We Know Things. This is actually the first time I've seen he posted this. He put Papa Shango on there. So, I'm pretty sure
he's
that's
in there.
I was gonna say I don't know.
I'm really hoping that's a joke.
I hope so too, but I don't think it was.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
I seen Christian's name on here a lot, which
I thought he was inducted already.
I don't believe so.
Hands down, definitely deserves it.
Yeah, and he's kind of what we talk about. He's the secondary third guy. He's that random guy who's probably got the best stories of the night. His induction speech is probably the best of the night, but he went on first. He'll be that guy of a class. That was kind of on Twitter. Let me look through Reddit. They said I'm trying to skip around because I have people I want to talk about, and I don't want to take up what I want to talk about.
I don't know if he's on your list, but just while you're looking around, like The Undertaker, he definitely goes in the Hall of Fame. I think it's just a matter of when.
Yeah, and surprisingly, I didn't see him on these lists, which I'm happy about because I didn't want too many people to put like current guys. So it was nice to see.
And it's good, and I'm under the assumption too is that probably most of the people that were asking, that were answering, were not considering. Like obviously, they consider him Hall of Fame worthy. Just
they left him off for the same reason that I wasn't really going to discuss them. Yeah. I actually seen Andy Kaufman, which I thought was a good one.
He is actually on my list. I kind of I was looking through of like celebrity wing. So like I know not a lot of people don't like it. I love the celebrity wing portion of the Hall of Fame.
Oh, I have 3 people I want to talk about for celebrity. Just I more want to talk about the others, not the main guys. So that's what I'm trying to skip over. But Andy Kaufman is not somebody on a list, and that's a good one.
Yeah. Cyndi Lauper was my other celebrity.
Yeah, there was some Cyndi Lauper. Here you go, CM Punk. Somebody actually did post CM Punk in their list here. So that's kind of a little bit. I jumped around a little bit. Somebody put Gilbert on there, so they won. He should have went in when Goldberg went in.
That would have been perfect.
But I'll go away from that and I'll go to my people. You mentioned China, Walt?
Yes.
Sable.
Yes, she is not in. That is yeah.
I mean,
who inducts her?
Lesnar.
Yeah. I mean,
probably Jacqueline, I would say.
There's actually 2 huge women other than China that aren't in. The other one's Miss Elizabeth.
Yes, Miss Elizabeth is on my list as well.
It's funny to see them. Miss Elizabeth, if I remember right, there's an actual reason why she's not. Wasn't that because of her death?
I think so. Offhand, I'm not 100%.
But it's a little surprising to see over time that she hasn't kind of made her way in there.
Yeah,
and then Sable, the same thing. Like there's some females that were in there, unless they view her as kind of like what I said with Paul Heyman, where if they feel like it's too weak of a headliner, they need to throw some names around it, and maybe Sable's who they're waiting on.
Maybe, yeah. Sable had a great run. Definitely, it was the end of the. She was definitely like the end of the era before like we moved to like the Trish Stratus era of like female wrestling. I think.
Yeah. Yeah, she by no means was a female wrestler, but you could tell that she worked at it. Yeah. There was time. I know when you would watch her in the ring, you'd be like, you could tell she's trying. There's a lot of women wrestlers, divas, and stuff that why they were there, and they didn't really care about what they look like in the ring. So you could tell she at least put some type of training into it.
Yep. So just with the way your list is going, you're probably touching on the guys I have on my list too.
Well, I'm going to jump to the celebrity wing.
Oh, nice.
I'm actually predicting this one for this year because I think it makes sense.
Hold on. Is it because it's New York, or is it because New York?
Because it's New York. His name was already referenced on this episode.
Name was already referenced. Who? I'm assuming it was me referencing him.
Yeah, but Peachy was talking about the guy, and you referenced him in a match with him.
Oh, Lawrence Taylor?
Yeah.
Nah, I don't. Didn't he? Isn't he like accused of rape or something like that?
What the fuck's it matter? They're in New York. That's still that was a huge match.
It was.
I could technically see because Bam Bam's from New York too, right?
I believe so.
if Vader is not the dead guy in there this year, I can see Bam Bam being the lucky one. But
the lucky one.
The lucky dead guy.
But I have Lawrence Taylor as a celebrity that I think eventually will be in, even if he's not in this year. You're gonna love this one, Walt. David Arquette.
He's not in the celebrity wing though.
But
You
that's
can't
what
have
it should be.
You can't have a former WCW champion in the celebrity wing. Can't do it.
He should
Can't
be.
do it. Yeah, he's the
He should be
headliner.
in the celebrity wing.
Kidding me? He's the headliner.
He's somebody I feel like should. I mean, you run out of celebrities after a while. I mean, I'm
Hell,
expecting.
at the rate that WWE puts people in the Hall of Fame, you're going to run out of actual wrestlers. But before we talk to that, Pete, you want to let the audience know what you're eating? Just so that way we have...
So Walt don't have to cut it out?
Yes, I don't have to... Can you not actually do that? Yeah, so thanks for...
If you can guess... If you can... Peach, I was going to say, if they can guess what you're eating...
If they can guess the
they
flavor.
can guest host the show.
Yeah.
So I have Arquette on there, and then number 3, which I expect if any of them are going to be soon, I feel like they probably would have done it last year. Floyd Mayweather, just because he'd still be kind of relevant, and
Can he punch the Big Show again?
Yeah.
Exactly. They just kind of throw guys in there, and before they put the Muppets in, like 4 years from now, I feel like Mayweather should get in
I
there
would
first.
love that. That was first off, they did the Muppets thing so right because they had Beaker referenced as like Sheamus's family member because of the tall red hair, and I loved it. I'm like, all right, this is great. I also just love the Muppets in general. It's funny that you bring that up though because that's gonna give you years of possible celebrity inductions. Because of that, was it the guest host, the weekly guest host thing? That's going to give you years.
See, and that's what I'm referencing guys that actually at least competed in a match. Like I had Butterbean on there. You know, I like it better when they've at least kind of competed.
I like it. Like I like the Kid Rock induction from last year.
Yeah, no, he made sense. I figure eventually Flo Rida, since he's promoted for or performs at every
Mania.
show in the South region. He was promoted for Oz. We never seen him. We never seen him in Dallas. They
He
promoted
was
him
promoted. Oh, well, that's good.
Wait, who did we sit next to recently?
I don't know. This was at the Rumble.
He was the guy from the Panda song.
Oh yeah, I don't know it.
If anybody knows his name, I seen him perform at halftime at the Sixers game. I want to say it was 2 years ago. It was opening night for the Sixers. They played the Oklahoma City Thunder, and he took his shirt off, and people started booing him.
So just to give just a quick little back detail, when we were at the Rumble, it was the same night as the Grammys, and this guy, I don't know if he wasn't nominated for anything. I don't think so. But
His name is Designer.
Yeah, was that who it was?
Yes.
So he made news because he chose to go to the Royal Rumble instead of the Grammys, and he ended up sitting like 2 rows in front of where we were at. I remember too; those guys were having a ball.
Oh my God, he enjoyed himself, dude. I
I
know a lot of it
that
was
one guy.
Yeah, a lot of it was for Snapchat or Instagram or whatever he was posting videos on. But man, I remember what Orton came out and he's standing up doing the pose. Like he was into it. He was definitely into it.
In the one, like, because I've rewatched all the Snapchat videos, you can see me when Adam Cole was the surprise entrance. You just see me in the background doing the Adam Cole baby.
Yeah.
And I showed it at a team meeting at work, and my coworkers were so disappointed in me.
Wait, didn't we make like Sports Center or whatever the next day?
I don't think we did. We made TMZ based off of that.
TMZ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so all for Designer. Okay, I have some. I'm just gonna run through some of these names real quick. I got Joey Styles, Bruce Pritchard. I expect to purely because of him now being on the network.
Hands down, agree.
I have Eric Bischoff. Hopefully, at some point, Jim Cornette.
I have Cornette on mine. I'm guessing I forgot to write Bischoff down, but definitely I think he's one that they can do whenever.
Yeah.
And they're probably just kind of waiting for it just to see how everything plays out.
Yeah. The one name I actually I wish I came up with this on my own, but I didn't. I think I've read it somewhere when I was trying to look to see who was in the Hall of Fame. Jim Johnston.
Oh, he should definitely be. I don't think he will.
Yeah.
He will not get a formal induction, but I think they will
he
probably
should get some type of thing in there. And Peach, I'm assuming you don't know who that is.
Nope.
The senior face.
Former defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles.
That's what I was thinking.
Yes, Jimmy Johnson. He coached the Dallas Cowboys. Now Jim Johnston, he basically had a hand in just about everybody's entrance music. He kind of
he created or worked on, produced whatever I want to say, from the Attitude Era to up until maybe like 5 years ago when that CFO group or something started making the entrance musics, and even then he was involved with them. But CFO took over, but Jim Johnston, he's definitely. I don't think he will ever get inducted. He's
somebody deserving of something.
He's going to be that legacy award.
Yeah.
That they do with just kind of like, oh, here's 30 people that nobody really knows who they are.
Yeah. And now I'll jump to tag teams, since, again, I was trying to stay away from singles wrestlers.
I had Demolition as the top of my list.
Yes.
That actually surprised me when I was doing research, that they are not in the Hall of Fame.
Me too. And actually, that was one of the names I was jumping around that a lot of people said on Twitter and Reddit, so I'll give them credit too. You just spoiled it for me before I can say it. But yeah, it absolutely surprised me too when I seen it.
I wanted to throw.
I assumed that they were in there.
Yeah, I wanted to throw a couple in there, so it actually seems like I know what I'm talking about. Because we know I'm the filthy casual of the bunch.
Yes, absolutely. The Nasty Boys, another tag team.
Yeah.
Just
I don't know a lot about them, but see, this is what sucks, and this is where, because I have the Hall of Fame set at The Godfather, any person you mention is, oh yeah, they could get into the Hall of Fame. Like you're saying,
anybody I mentioned that you've heard of before.
You're saying
that's what the WWE Hall of Fame standard is. If I say, hey Peach, who's the Nasty Boys, and he goes, oh, aren't they wrestlers? Then yes, that is a standard for the Hall of Fame.
Big Cass and Enzo next year.
Yeah, that a casual fan can be like, oh, they're wrestlers, aren't they? Oh yeah, they're the guys with the tie-dye looking shirts. Like, yeah, like, oh, okay. I'm purely doing it on the name. Most of the people I'm doing it on name basis, because that's what I feel like gets people into the Hall of Fame is the name. So I feel like a lot of people do know who the Nasty Boys are, or at least have heard of them. I'm going to completely skip the New Age Outlaws because I know most people will say them. I think
will they get
they're
inducted?
the last of these four. I think they're below the Nasty Boys in my mind.
I think Outlaws are, to me, one of the top ones. But do they go in individually or do they go in as a team?
I think they go in as a team.
Okay. Because I could see, I say Road Dogg has merits on his own to get inducted by himself. Billy Gunn, he should get inducted by himself because of how much of like a tag team wrestler he was. Because he had so many notable tag teams. The Smoking Guns, Billy and Chuck. That was a thing, but it wasn't bad. It was enjoyable.
That was a thing.
Yeah. It was different. It was definitely different, and I think like they did mess some stuff up with it, but it was good. And then obviously the Outlaws. I forget who else he won. Did he win tag titles with anybody else?
I don't know.
Yeah, but who's your last tag team, Mike?
The Steiner brothers.
I agree. I don't see it happening because of Scott.
I think over time it will. But
I think
we're talking about deserving, not whether or not it will happen. Deserving.
Okay.
I put them and Demolition at a different level, and then I kind of had the Nasty Boys and New Age Outlaws second. But Demolition, like I said, I'm surprised they're not in there already. I know why the Steiner brothers aren't in there right now.
Because Scott Steiner can't use math.
Yes. But
apparently, that was the anniversary of like his math promo. And listen, if Scott Steiner gets inducted, I just want him to call Samoa Joe a fat fuck on stage. That's all I want. That's all I want, and I'll be happy.
But yeah, so that's it for all the extras. As far as the singles, which I don't think anybody's mentioned yet. Obviously, we said The Rock and Jericho and Undertaker, Lex Luger.
Yeah. Especially because of how he was the main guy on that first episode of Nitro. Like when he jumped ship, that was pretty big.
Yeah,
Obviously he didn't have so Luger was supposed to be the next Hulk Hogan. That never panned out in the way that it was, but like definitely name value is there. I think he's like a co-main headliner type of guy.
Yeah, he's the guy that you put Paul Heyman or Eric Bischoff and Sable with.
Yeah, that'd be a good Hall of Fame class.
My personal opinion on these two, Dean Malenko, love me some Dean Malenko. He still works with them, right?
I think he's a backstage guy.
And then Ken Shamrock. They're two personals that I see eventually getting in. I feel like Malenko probably should be there already.
I don't know about Shamrock.
I think he might. His comes down to whether or not he would accept it.
Yeah, I think
they would put him in there. I think it would come down to if he would accept it or not.
Yeah, I don't know if he has the name recognition. Yeah. Again, on the Godfather scale, he deserves it. Former Intercontinental Champion.
As I said, we literally could say anybody, and you can't say nope, they don't deserve it.
Him and Blackman had a great feud. I forget who else he really feuded with, but the Blackman one sticks out because it was the Lions Den match. And then didn't Shamrock didn't he do a Hart Dungeon match too with Owen Hart?
I feel like he did. I was gonna say I felt like I remember he did something. I
forget if it was with Owen Hart or if it was with somebody else and it was just in the Hart Dungeon or something like that. I'm surprised. I'm hoping there's one on my list that you have not mentioned yet that I'm very surprised about so far.
Is it a big name or a middle name? Because I didn't get to what I consider middle names yet.
I guess. Well,
there's Brutus the Barber Beefcake. I'm surprised he's not in there as a side guy. The Honky Tonk Man.
That's the one I had on my list.
Yeah,
as a big one.
I put Malenko and Shamrock above these guys purely on a personal because I wanted to see them. So I didn't get to those. Honky Tonk Man,
Honky Tonk Man is one of those guys I think that is, again, another legitimizer of the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Probably one of the greatest Intercontinental Championship reigns. What was it, 54 weeks?
Going as like a legacy?
No, as himself. But I think he held it for 54 weeks or something like that.
He ain't that old, Peach.
Yeah, like that Legacy
Honky
Award
Tonk was like the mid-'80s, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's the Legacy is before that. The late 80s is for wrestlers from like that their prime was in like the 40s or 50s.
Yeah, TVs didn't even exist.
Yeah.
But is he still alive?
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah, he's alive still. I think he was just bitching about something.
And then actually, I've skipped a lot of guys, and I'm perfectly fine with skipping them. But William Regal.
He's just they're waiting for a perfect time. I think he's your headliner if they ever do a London WrestleMania. I think that's
I heard you say headliner, and I was waiting for you to smirk, and then I noticed you didn't.
Yeah, no, because I think if they do a London, a London WrestleMania, William
Yeah.
Regal is your headliner. No doubt about that. What he's done for not like the industry, he's a great technical wrestler. His hands in NXT are unbelievable. He's just great. So yeah, no, that was not a smirk. That was not a joke.
Yeah,
that is,
I thought it was a joke.
If it is in now again, if it's not in London, it's a middle of the pack kind of guy.
Yeah.
But I think if they do the London WrestleMania, I think he's high probability to be your headliner for that one.
Yeah. You know what? Well, I expected you to throw a certain guy's name in there. Try not to be edgy.
Oh, Benoit.
Yeah.
I was going to talk about that maybe when you were done.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah,
then I'm done.
Okay, Benoit. Yeah, Benoit. Like on paper, hands down should be in, but that will never happen. He won't even be a footnote, and I'm fine with that. Obviously, you can't have that in there, but it sucks. He was one of my favorites when I was watching him. Again, we've brought it up multiple times on the show. When we were at the Royal Rumble where he won, like that's where I really dug into him. His triple threat match with Michaels and Triple H at Mania 20 is one of the greatest triple threat matches ever. That picture of him and Guerrero holding the titles up at that WrestleMania 20 is legendary, and I think it said a lot for where the industry was going.
Yeah.
But then it all fell off a cliff with the double murder suicide that doesn't. Now, if they had a killers section of the Hall of Fame, you could have him with like Jimmy Superfly Snuka. They can have like their own wing if you want.
Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, I don't think he killed that guy. I think he only paralyzed him.
Oh my god, they have a killer section? Really?
Known murderers of the WWE. That could be another episode.
Yeah. It's a hell of a fantasy football lineup team name.
There's obviously guys that are still wrestling. Jim the Anvil Neidhart's not in there. That's
I think he's gonna. I think the Hart Foundation is gonna be the next. I think it sucks, but I think the Hart Foundation is going to be one of the next groups that get inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Aren't the Harts fighting with the WWE?
Martha is, not everybody else, I don't believe. But I think that might be the closest you get to having Owen in the Hall of Fame. No. Some of the Hall of Fame stuff that I hate, like, so I was like looking through the list. Remember when Scott Hall got inducted? He got inducted as Razor Ramon, and like that just shows you the bitterness of WWE. Because honestly, Razor Ramon was great. Scott Hall, I think, was more well known, I think, than possibly Razor Ramon.
Did Kevin Nash go in as Kevin Nash or Diesel?
Kevin Nash went in as Kevin Nash. Scott Hall got inducted the year before, and he got inducted as Razor Ramon. Nash went in the following year as your headliner, inducted by Michaels, but he went in as Kevin Nash. Which to me is dumb. Like how, okay, Scott Hall's going in as Razor Ramon, but then Nash goes, because I don't think Kevin Nash was in WWE as Kevin Nash for 3 months. It was the whole Summer of Punk angle.
Yeah,
I think.
But the funny thing is like when they brought NWO to WWE,
I forgot about that. Yeah,
they were referenced as Scott Hall and Kevin Nash then too, right? So
yeah,
it's not like Scott Hall didn't compete as Scott Hall in WWE.
Yeah, it just wasn't as notable, I guess.
It also could be because of all the drinking and stuff like that. They thought, hey, let's not reference them as Scott Hall. People can find out, his issues a little bit better. Where Kevin Nash didn't really have that outside of the wrestling kind of problem.
Yeah. But yeah. Peach, just looking over this, any, I'll ask you again just to get you involved in on the conversation. anybody from like what we talked about that you feel are really should be in the Hall of Fame?
No, like the people that I was looking at, like, were already in it. Like, I was going to joke around with Pete Rose in or out. Pete Rose is in it.
Yep.
Yokozuna's in it. Like,
yes.
he was one of the people like I always thought of. And then there's like the funny people, Big John Studd,
What?
Eddie Guerrero. Like, everybody that I think should be in it is in it.
Hold on, we don't have enough time. Eddie Guerrero is one of your comedy names.
No, that was
like
just
Eddie
me
Guerrero.
scrolling.
Jesus Christ!
Because
I was gonna
Guerrero
slap
went
you.
in 06.
Yeah, it was right after he died. Vicky, and that's one of the ones where if
That brought
Guerrero
Vicky,
died,
right?
that's taking the name value. Jesus Christ, I got nervous there.
But that pretty much brought Vicky into it, right?
For the most
After
part,
he
yeah.
passed.
Vicky Guerrero is a name that I think was going to get inducted soon. She deserves it. She was one of the best managers, not just female managers, just managers of all time, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The way she could draw heat. When we were at the Rumble this past year and she was in it, and you just heard the "excuse me," I was so excited. It was great. Who do you think of the current roster that should be inducted into the Hall of Fame and will not?
And will not.
And will not. Because it's very easy to say all these guys are going to get inducted into the Hall of Fame. The whole Shield's going to get inducted. Cena's going in. AJ Styles will go in at some point. Like, of the current group of guys and, like, any of their histories, but will not get inducted for whatever reason.
You think Styles will go in?
Oh, yeah. He's on the cover of W2K19. I never thought that day
that's
would
automatic into the Hall of Fame?
Not
Appear
really,
on the
but
video game?
not in theory, no, but the fact that they have that much faith to put him on the cover of a game, I think just shows how much Vince has opened up to Styles, even though Styles was not one of his guys. Styles goes in at some point, no doubt about it. But is there anybody on the main roster that you kind of see, or even NXT possibly, that is going to should be in there but will not?
My God, Walt.
Yeah, I try to make this difficult because
Yeah.
it's so easy. It's so easy for us to say, "Oh yeah, the Miz is going to go in. He deserves it." No shit.
You couldn't at least brought this up beforehand that
I
had a little bit of preparation for it.
Well, I thought of it as we were talking about this. So, listen, I'm having a hard time thinking about it too.
There's one name that I'm thinking of, and it's just sitting there in my head. So I'll say it: Dolph Ziggler.
Yep.
I could see him being a guy kind of getting snubbed from it, and kind of not getting put in, and then over time being like, well, he did this, but not enough of this, and he just kind of sits around and doesn't get put in. Because I can see, like you said, like a guy like The Miz will get put in before Ziggler.
But well deserving.
Yeah, but I'm saying like a guy like The Miz, because he's relevant to the outside world, he'll get it in quicker than other guys for that reason. If he retires, he'll get edge treatment. He'll get put in right away. I feel like he's not a guy that over time is going to be better for him. Where I could see a guy like Ziggler then being like, "Oh, it's too soon to put him in," and then before you realize it, Kane's getting inducted before him. I'm not saying Kane shouldn't, but Kane is. Then the next year it's the Big Show. Then the next year, somebody else, Goldust. And then before you know it, Ziggler just kind of got pushed off to the side. So he's the type of guy I can see him deserving it because of what he's done and not necessarily making it in.
I already take back something I said about maybe less than a minute ago. As I was thinking about it more and more. I don't see Dean Ambrose going in.
Really?
Yeah.
I think retired today.
Even with that, even he can continue his career exactly how it goes, wins a couple titles, stuff like that. I could see in a very similar role to Ziggler that Dean Ambrose does not go in.
You don't see him going in as the Shield, like
If they
in a group faction.
if they induct the Shield, yes. As an individual member, I do not see him going in.
Okay.
Does Daniel Bryan get in?
Yes.
He's gonna have his own wing. And honestly, it'll be the Dolph Ziggler wing. Like, that's where he gets inducted in, like Dolph Ziggler. Like, wrestlers that really probably shouldn't have made it, but hey, they're still great anyway. Let's throw them over here.
How about you, Walt? I mean, can you think? I mean, I know you said Ambrose, but
that's what I'm trying to rattle through now. Like, so one thing I've learned from this is don't ask a question this difficult. Spur of the moment, so that we don't have a lot of dead air trying to figure this stuff out.
well, PG start throwing names out.
All right,
Or just start chilling on the mic so we don't have dead air.
Not a current wrestler, but AJ Lee. Does she get in?
She has a better shot of getting in than Punk, I think.
I agree.
But I don't put that high. I think if they ever get a divorce, she gets in.
I think she purely has a better chance because they need to have a female every year.
I actually think that lessens her chance.
Really?
Because they only do one female a year.
Yeah, but eventually, like who out there still should be in there?
Of female wrestlers?
Yeah, unless you're going to start putting current ones in.
Well, so
let's say Sable, China, and Miss Elizabeth don't get put in the next 3 years, and I don't think AJ Lee's getting put in the next 3 years. But let's say they don't get put in the next 3 years. You tell me who's the female that's getting put in the next 3 years?
Kelly, Tori Wilson, and Stacy Keibler. Those are non-joking answers.
I know. No, I agree with you. Michelle McCool probably gets in.
And then with that, Layla.
Over AJ Lee, though.
Yes. Deserving more so than AJ Lee? No. But just gets in more so than AJ Lee? Yes.
Now, and again, what we're talking about right now, let's say 5 years from now, things have kind of gone away with the whole Punk Lee against the WWE type deal. You still think Layla gets in over AJ Lee?
If that settles down, then no. Because I think the one thing that kind of sucks is because they only do one woman a year is you have to be able to still recognize their work.
Yeah.
I think, like, if you go past 5 years of no AJ Lee references, then they're not going to put her in. Because
But
there's
Layla's
no
going to be 10 years removed from hers.
But I think Layla has more of a... You can do a little bit more with that because of a Michelle McCool. Because of like a Gail Kim. Who else? Like a Beth Phoenix. Like kind of that whole model-ish era of diva wrestlers. I think you have a little bit more with that than just AJ Lee. Because AJ Lee's feuds were with Caitlyn and the Bellas. Yeah, her and Paige feuded, but it really wasn't, like... I thought it was great because it was good wrestling, but I don't think that's... But Paige has had much better feuds after that were more name-worthy than the AJ Lee feud.
But AJ, from a storyline standpoint, has had bigger storylines. And as we see... that wrestling means zero when you get inducted to the Hall of Fame. So, you know, her storylines with Kane and Punk and
True.
Cena and Daniel Bryan, and, you know, like, there's a lot more out there than Layla being behind Michelle McCool while stuff's happening.
Yeah, I guess you're right with that.
I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening anytime soon.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of defending over Layla.
Yeah, But because if the whole Punk thing's still a thing, that's why I don't think she doesn't get in because of that. And that's where Layla would get inducted before AJ Lee.
No.
R-Truth. Next
He'll
person.
get in. He'll get in.
Really?
He'll get in, yeah.
I say no.
As the announcer type thing, or as the wrestler?
Just as R-Truth. They don't have
R-Truth ever an announcer?
I don't think so. I don't know. I don't even want to dig down this hole because we're already out of we're already at an hour 20.
Are you thinking of somebody else, Peach?
Yeah.
Okay.
Abraham Washington.
Booker T.
Probably Booker T.
Jesus Christ.
Is Booker T in?
Yes.
Yeah. His brother's not in though. I think his brother should be in. As a Harlem Heat, like that's the one thing I really hope they do more. Like this is when, in like 5 years, is when you're gonna start getting. I think a lot more of the double inductees.
Yeah.
To where, like how they did with the Four Horsemen, like Ric Flair is the only one that has 2 rings, but I can see, like with the Outlaws, they'll go in as a tag team, but then they'll also get inducted when DX gets inducted. Harlem Heat should be as in the tag team wing of the Hall of Fame, but Stevie Ray isn't as big of a name as Booker T is. Yeah, well, you got a smirk on your face.
Is that to me?
Yeah, you.
No, I was actually scratching behind my knee.
Oh,
that was
okay.
not a smirk. That was
joy.
My leg itches.
Okay.
But actually, the announcer plus the tag team brings me up to my next one. Does John Bradshaw Layfield eventually get in?
Oh yeah. I think again he's just a timing thing.
Yeah,
He'll probably be like maybe next time they're in Texas or something like that. Well deserved. He's an asshole, but still well deserved. Unless he's listening, and then if he is listening, you're not an asshole. Come on our show and just explain yourself, and we'll get everything situated.
Like Mike says, any heat's good heat.
Yeah, we'll get a hard-hitting interview with PG asking you questions. Don't worry.
Yep.
Come on the show.
But, Peach, anybody else you want to add?
Rhino.
He won't go in.
No.
He should. I wish they would do. I really wish they would. See, this is where I don't think they can do like an ECW section, a WCW section type of thing. But then if you do that, you'll just have everybody kind of.
Right.
Everybody
it
would
takes
go
away
in.
from the WWF or WWE.
But that's and if you do do Rhino, you have to do Dreamer first. You have to do Rob Van Dam first. You have to do probably Raven, Sabu, Taz. Like there's names that probably should be in there first before you get to Rhino. So yeah, like Walton said, unless you're doing an ECW wing every year, there's guys that are just ahead of them.
Yeah, there should be guys ahead of them.
Yeah.
But here's the funny thing, though. I see Rhino getting in before a Sabu or a Taz or a Raven.
Taz had a...
He did, but
Currently, and I agree with Walton currently.
Yeah.
But again, time heals all. And
exactly.
I see Taz getting in before Rhino because I see them kind of making nice.
Yeah, for a Hall of Fame induction.
Yeah.
Especially because Rhino, he's former WWE Tag Team Champ. He's the inaugural SmackDown Tag Team Champion. I was there live for that. That was cool.
Does Cesaro get in?
He falls into Dolph Ziggler wing for me.
I think Ziggler gets in before Cesaro.
Yeah, definitely agree with that.
David Otunga.
Not anymore since he broke up with Jennifer Hudson.
What a terrible person.
Jennifer Hudson gets in first.
Yeah. Celebrity divorcee wing.
What about like Michael Cole and JoJo and like the Coachman, like all the...
Jesus Christ. How does your mind think? You go from Michael Cole
to JoJo. You didn't go Lillian Garcia. But you didn't go Lillian Garcia like
I'm in front of JoJo, and that's the people outside the ring.
Michael Cole will go in when he gives up, when he finally retires from doing color commentary.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys, I think it's just a timing thing. Like that Michael Cole, I think he deserves it. He does. he's done it like JR and the King were they're the voice of Raw. But to me, realizing it, I've listened to more of Michael Cole announce matches than I think JR and the King. When I kind of look at all the wrestling I've watched. He is great at commentary when he doesn't have to listen to Vince McMahon. Like when him and Nigel McGuinness did the UK tournament last year, it didn't sound like he had like a McMahon in his earpiece, and he sounded natural. He sounded great. Hell, he did a great job handling when Jerry Lawler had the heart attack on Raw, and composing himself to commentate the rest of that show by himself while his friend was in the hospital, possibly dead. But yeah, he'll go in. JoJo, I don't think so. I'm not sure. I mean, she's done great. She broke up one marriage for Bray Wyatt, so that's always a good thing.
They go Bray Wyatt.
Oh, yeah.
He goes in.
As Dolph Ziggler wing?
No, I think he goes in as legitimate. The character of Bray Wyatt is, I think, much bigger than, like, the Dolph Ziggler, like, more so pure wrestler type thing.
He goes in by himself and not as...
Oh, yeah, he goes in. Yeah, he goes in by
family.
himself. Yeah, he goes in by himself.
Unlike, like, the New Day. All the three of them go in as New Day.
I don't know.
They'll make it in.
They probably will.
The thing about right now, we're talking about guys going in double as a tag team just to think of tag teams.
Oh, yeah.
So the New Day would make it in purely because the tag team division was so weak for so long that it was basically singles wrestlers getting paired up.
Yeah.
So, before they make 18 guys double Hall of Fame winners because they're trying to force tag teams in, I could see New Day getting in there.
The thing that sucks about that is I think Kofi would fall into that Dolph Ziggler wing. But he should be in by himself before he goes in with the New Day.
He won't
Really?
ever be in by himself.
Yeah.
Huh?
I don't see him going in.
Oh, yeah, I don't see him going in, but he should be.
Why?
He should be... Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I want this serious discussion. Why? Why does Kofi Kingston deserve to be in the Hall of Fame by himself?
Because of all his flippy shit?
Well, all the moments he's made, from Royal Rumble to Money in the Bank, I believe he's won every title other than one of the main titles. I don't think he's ever really been a bad guy, other than like the big stint with the when it was the heel New Day. And even at that point, it was hard to boo Kofi because it's Kofi Kingston. But I think that right there says how long his career's been. He's always been a fan favorite. He has had decent merchandise sales. I think that right there says enough of if we're looking at resumes of Kofi Kingston going in by himself.
I just don't think I think he is mostly what's going to get the New Day in there. I think he's a big part of why people love the New Day. But I don't know.
I think they go in pretty
think he
quick after
deserves
they're
it.
done.
Yeah, I actually agree with PG. I hate to say it. I think they go in right away.
Just because it's diversity, too. It's not their...
I'm not making a race thing, Peach.
But like that, it's a good diversity thing. They've been such a squeaky clean trio. Like they've... And
do you remember the Page video?
Xavier Woods.
In the Page, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Forgot about that.
Well, 2/3 of them has been squeaky clean, so.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is with that whole thing, like it wasn't his fault.
No.
With bringing up the Page video, obviously, main one there. Brad Maddox, does he get in?
Yeah. Does Page get in?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Eventually, yes.
I think she gets in the next couple years.
Yeah, I see that.
Just
happening.
because if her neck injury is real and she really can't wrestle anymore, similar to Edge, she'll go in.
Kofi's won 14 championships.
Exactly.
4-time Intercontinental. 3-time US. And 7-time tag team.
Yeah, and has won every title except the main one.
All right, who deserves it more, Goldust or Kofi Kingston?
Goldust.
Goldust.
I think Goldust is going to have to wait a long time to get in there.
Really? Even with his name?
I think there's other guys that'll get in before him.
I think Goldust is next 3 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Now,
Yep.
it also depends on when these certain guys retire and stuff, but like
I think it really depends on, and this is sad. It depends on what happens with Cody and the indie scene. There's rumors, and it's talking like that. Well, you just had the New Day versus the Elite at the Capcom Street Fighter thing, which is, yes, it's video games and it's not in a wrestling ring, but you got the okay from the WWE management, and they promote. Jesus Christ, on a WWE article, you had a Kenny Omega reference when the Young Bucks Superkick Party reference. If WWE is starting to open up that kind of communication between more of the indie guys, Goldust goes in sooner because that way Cody can do his induction.
yeah, I guess so.
If that doesn't happen and Cody cannot be there for whatever reason, one, that's bullshit, but two, I can see New Day going in before Goldust just because of politics like that.
But that's like, I think I'm like looking at guys that probably fit the Goldust mold, as far as they're not going to put two of these guys in the same year because again they try not to double up on certain things. But you got Big Show, you have Kane, and then I put JBL borderline with those guys, and Rey Mysterio. I kind of put them all in that same mold of the recent guys that are going to either just retired. They're not big enough names, but they always need like that one guy who's recent in people's mind, the one guy that's almost attitude error, and then the headliner as far as the singles go. So you're not going to see a Goldust and Big Show go in together. Now, like, I understand your point with, if they're trying to use Cody to induct them, but I don't see him getting in before those guys unless he retires before those guys, and they don't want to put a Big Show in while he's still wrestling part-time.
Yeah, I agree with that. Which I appreciate. I much prefer that. I hated that Kurt Angle got inducted into the Hall of Fame and then was still like, oh yeah, when are we going to see Kurt Angle matches?
Yeah.
But I also, part of me likes that can be a thing. Yeah, so let's, because I just looked at the time, let's wrap it there, just because we're already at an hour 30, and I think I'm already spent after the R-Truth and JoJo into the Hall of Fame.
R-Truth is the announcer or the wrestler?
The announcer. JoJo is the wrestler.
Maybe I'm just making really good predictions. R-Truth is going to be the next color commentator.
I mean, it wouldn't be bad. Oh, man. So, yeah. So, the next couple weeks are going to be an interesting one. Because we're going to have a couple special guests coming on over the next couple weeks because the voice of the voiceless, if you must, Mike Peachy, is not going to be able to join us.
You're going to miss me.
I will.
I probably will. But that's more of an emotional thing than anything. But yeah, so keep tuned for that because I think we're still just ironing out the details of who's coming on when and things like that. So I don't want to throw it out there just yet because I don't want to. Well, I think so. The two people we have, Mike has invited Greg Hall from We Podcast, so we know things on there.
Yes, Mr. Papa Shango himself.
Yes. And then the next one is our buddy Matt Fico. He's going to join us for an episode too, which is going to be real exciting.
Yeah, we can. You know what? He's probably been one of the ones talking shit on Peachy on this show. So
yeah, probably.
We'll see. How he likes it. How he can handle the
pressure.
Yeah, the podcast pressure.
The PP, if you must.
Yes.
Yeah, so those guys will be coming on to not replace Peachy, but just fill in. Because there's no replacing Peachy.
There's no replacing.
No replacing.
But yeah, it looks like Greg Hall from We Podcast and We Know Things will be this week.
Okay.
This next week, upcoming. That's what it sounds like anyway. And then Fico will be the week after. So.
Yep. And I think for the one with Greg Hall, because We Podcast Know Things, all nerd stuff, they're big into video games. I think in that episode we're going to discuss some of our favorite wrestling video games.
Yeah. Some of our favorites. What we remember growing up. Go-to games. Maybe what the worst ones we've ever played. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
We'll get into video games.
Kind of generic. And Peach, even though you won't be here, we'll solicit some feedback from you to put out there. Or Mike and I will just make up information like we did for those one set of predictions and see if we can get it right.
Yeah. You guys got
either
one
or.
pretty much.
Yeah, we did only get one.
We have your phrases down, Peach.
Yeah.
So,
and then for the Fico one, I think we're still talking about it, but I think he'll probably help us pick that topic for the week so that he knows exactly what we're talking about and get hopefully the same conversation level that we get with Peachy on a regular basis is the hope with Fico.
Yeah.
So.
Yes.
Peach, since you're out for a couple weeks, anything you want to send the audience off with? Any comments you want to tell them? Anything like that?
No, I just hope somebody eats candy on air.
I probably will save that audio and just loop it in at random times. Jesus Christ. Professionalism, people. Professionalism.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mike, you got anything you want to sign off on for us?
Well, no.
Okay, great.
I like it.
I would promote We Podcast and We Know Things, but I'm sure Craig will do that plenty next week, and he's going to show you how to really be a host next week.
That's what I'm excited to see.
We might just let him run the show. I don't know.
It's probably for the best, honestly. I can easily fill in that Peachy role if we must. Yeah, so I got nothing else. Thanks for listening this week, everyone.
Subscribe, follow.
Subscribe, share, all
tweet,
that fun stuff.
Text Walton.
Yeah,
Walton didn't even talk about anybody's physiques to get them in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, well, I know, right? How is Batista not your guy? You've been talking about his junk for like the past month.
Well, that's an entire wing, if you know what I'm saying. I mean, he's got a big dick. Well, Batista is a guy that should be in the Hall of Fame, and I'm sure will be at some point. But.
He will be a headliner.
Does he go in as Drax the Destroyer?
No, he goes in as Dave Batista or Blue Tista.
Oh man.
So with that, back to the awkward sign off that I normally do.
Pete Rose in or out?
Pete Rose in, especially since gambling's legal now. He has to be in. Well, actually, no. I take that back completely. He's out.
He's in. No, he's out. Oh, shit.
No. Well, I forgot about his whole. I think he got accused sexually.
16-year-old.
Yeah, that's out.
He's still gambling on his own team.
That's fine. I don't care about that.
Let's not get into that.
It's the other side. I'm like, hard pass. So with that, everyone, thanks for listening. We will catch you next week on Apron Work Podcast. Later, guys.